I didn't wake up screaming. That surprised me later, when I replayed everything again and again in my head. People think moments like this begin with panic, with noise, with the body reacting before the mind can catch up. But when I opened my eyes that morning, the first thing I felt wasn't fear. It was confusion. Something was wrong in a way I couldn't immediately name. The room looked the same. The pale morning light filtered through the curtains, cutting thin lines across the wall. The air felt still. Quiet. Too quiet. I lay there for a few seconds longer than usual, listening for sounds from the rest of the house. Footsteps. Voices. Anything normal. There was nothing. I lifted my hand the way I always did when I woke up, fingers moving automatically toward my hair. It was a habit I didn't think about. My hair had always been there, something solid, familiar, part of me in a way I never questioned. My fingers touched skin. Bare. Smooth. Cold. My brain stalled. I tried again, slower this time, dragging my fingertips across my scalp. There was no weight. No strands slipping between my fingers. Just skin and short, uneven patches that felt wrong under my touch. My heart started pounding, hard enough that I could feel it in my throat. No, I whispered, though I didn't yet understand what I was denying. I sat up quickly, the room tilting for a moment as panic finally caught up to me. My hands were shaking as I reached for my phone on the nightstand and opened the front camera. The screen lit up. The girl staring back at me didn't look broken. She looked violated. My hair was gone. Not styled. Not trimmed. Gone in a way that felt intentional. Uneven patches. Harsh lines. Some areas shaved almost to the scalp, others hacked short, careless, unfinished. Whoever did this hadn't been trying to make it look acceptable. They'd been trying to make it humiliating. I stared at the screen for a long time, my mouth slightly open, my eyes searching for some explanation that wasn't there. I pressed my palm flat against my head like pressure might undo what had already happened. It didn't. Someone had done this to me while I slept. Someone had stood over my bed while I was defenseless. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I felt something colder settle in my chest. Understanding. This wasn't a mistake. This wasn't anger. This was a decision. I stood up slowly and walked to the mirror across the room, needing to see it without the distortion of the phone. Under the brighter light, it looked worse. My face felt exposed, stripped of something protective, like a layer of myself had been taken without permission. My eyes drifted to the bedroom door. That's when I noticed it. The lock was turned. Unlocked. I knew I had locked it. I always did. Living in this house had taught me that privacy only existed if I enforced it myself. Someone had unlocked my door. Someone who lived here. My chest tightened as I opened the door and stepped into the hallway. The carpet muffled my footsteps as I walked past family photos lining the walls, smiling faces, holidays, celebrations. They looked staged now, like evidence of a story that had never really been true. I went straight to my parents' room and knocked. No answer. I knocked again, harder. Still nothing. I didn't wait a third time. I turned the handle and pushed the door open. My mom was sitting up in bed. My dad was beside her. Both awake, both calm. They looked at me like they'd been expecting this moment. I swallowed hard. Did you do this? My mom didn't hesitate. Yes, she said. One word. Flat. Certain. The air felt heavy in my lungs. Why? I asked. My voice sounded distant, like it belonged to someone else. She sighed, already tired. Because you needed it. My dad crossed his arms. You were getting out of line. I let out a short laugh that didn't sound like humor. My hair put me out of line? My mom's expression tightened. You know exactly what we mean. No, I said quietly. I don't. She leaned forward slightly. You were starting to act like you were better than your sister. There it was. Behind me, I heard footsteps. I turned and saw my sister standing in the doorway, fully awake, fully dressed, arms crossed. She looked at my head, then at my face. And smiled. "It was necessary," she said. "You were getting too much attention." I stared at her. "You knew?" She shrugged. "I suggested it." My stomach dropped. My mom nodded. "It was meant to humble you." That word echoed in my head. Humble. "You changed me while I slept," I said slowly. My dad waved his hand. "It's just hair. You'll grow it back," my sister added. I looked at all three of them, standing there together, unashamed, unified, and something inside me went very still. They thought humiliation would make me smaller. They thought shock would make me obedient. They thought I would accept it quietly. And in that moment, I decided to let them believe that. Because broken people don't plan. And I was already planning. I didn't argue with them. That was the first thing that unsettled them. They were prepared for noise, for shouting, tears, accusations. My mom's shoulders were tense like she was bracing herself. My dad stood firm, already convinced this conversation was finished. My sister's smile lingered, thin and satisfied. They expected me to break. Instead, I nodded. "Okay," I said. My mom frowned. "Okay?" "Yes," I repeated calmly. "If that's what you decided." My sister let out a short laugh. "See? I told you she'd get over it." I didn't correct her. I turned around and walked back to my room, closing the door gently behind me. Not slamming it. Not rushing. Just closing it the way someone does when they've made a decision they don't need to explain. I sat on the edge of my bed and stared at my hands. They weren't shaking. That realization scared me more than anything else. Downstairs, the house came back to life. Cabinets opening. Voices rising. My sister's laughter floating up the stairs as if nothing irreversible had happened. The world was moving on, convinced I'd been handled. Good. I showered slowly, letting the water run over my scalp. The sensation still felt wrong, too exposed. But the discomfort sharpened my focus instead of dulling it. Every second under the water reminded me that what had been done to me wasn't a misunderstanding. It was control. When I got dressed, I didn't try to hide anything. No scarf, no hat. No attempt to soften the damage. If they wanted me humbled, they could look at it. When I came downstairs, the room fell quiet. My sister's friends froze mid-conversation. Someone's eyes widened before they quickly looked away. My mom rushed toward me, her voice low and sharp. "Why didn't you cover your head?" she hissed. "People will talk." I tilted my head slightly. "People should." She opened her mouth, then closed it. This wasn't how she'd imagined it. At the graduation venue, the attention followed me like a shadow. People tried not to stare, but curiosity is louder than politeness. Their eyes flicked to my head, then to my face, searching for embarrassment. They didn't find it. My sister walked ahead of me, glowing in her gown, soaking in congratulations. But I noticed how often she glanced back, how stiff her posture became every time she caught someone whispering. She hadn't planned for this. During the ceremony, speeches filled the air, words about family, sacrifice, unconditional support. I listened quietly, the irony sharp enough to almost make me smile. When my sister crossed the stage, applause thundered. My parents stood, cheering loudly. I stayed seated. Afterward, relatives approached me carefully. "What happened? Are you okay?" That must have been such a shock. I kept my answers simple. It happened overnight. I didn't choose it. They thought it would humble me. The word moved faster than I expected. Humbling. It didn't sound gentle when strangers repeated it. It didn't sound loving. It sounded cruel. My sister noticed the shift immediately. Her smile grew tighter. She avoided standing near me for photos, subtly repositioning herself, making sure I wasn't in the frame. They had changed me to make me invisible. Instead, they had made me unforgettable. That night, back at home, I locked my door again and sat on my bed. I opened my laptop and logged into an account no one in that house knew about. An account I'd built quietly over the years. While my family focused all their attention on my sister, her achievements, her future, I had worked, saved, learned, planned. I had never been as dependent as they believed. I checked my balance. The numbers didn't make me feel proud. They made me feel free. The next morning, my mom knocked on my door. "We need to talk," she said. I opened it calmly. "We've decided," she continued, folding her hands the way she always did when she wanted authority, "that you should start contributing more. Your sister will need support now." I met her eyes. "How much?" I asked. "Whatever you can," my dad said from behind her. "It's only fair." Fair. I smiled. "Okay," I said. "I'll help." They relaxed instantly. They thought my agreement meant submission. They didn't realize it meant timing. Because broken people don't wait. And I was done being underestimated. I didn't rush anything. That was the mistake they kept making, confusing my calm with weakness. For weeks, I did exactly what I said I would. I helped. I transferred money when asked. I nodded during conversations. I listened without reacting. I played the role they expected so well that they stopped watching me closely. They relaxed. My sister started talking about her plans openly, moving out, celebrating, traveling. My parents discussed finances in front of me like I was part of the furniture, assuming I'd always be there to fill the gaps. They still thought they controlled the situation. What they didn't know was that every transfer I made went through accounts they didn't have access to anymore. I paid bills directly instead of handing over cash. I changed passwords. I removed permissions. Quietly. Methodically. Control doesn't disappear all at once. It erodes. The first sign came when my mom called me into the kitchen one evening, her tone sharp with irritation. "The card didn't work," she said. "The one you usually put money on." I looked up calmly. "I stopped using that account." Her eyes narrowed. "Why?" "I'm reorganizing," I replied. She frowned. "Reorganizing what?" "My life." She scoffed like it was a joke, but I saw the flicker of unease behind her eyes. A few days later, my sister asked me to co-sign something. She didn't even pretend it was optional. "I need it done today," she said. "It's important." "I can't," I replied. She laughed. "What do you mean you can't?" "I mean I won't." Her smile dropped. "You owe me." That word again. I set my phone down and looked at her. "For what?" "For everything Mom and Dad did for you." I paused. "Do you mean the haircut?" The room went silent. My parents looked at each other. My sister stared at me like I'd broken an unspoken rule. "We already dealt with that," my mom snapped. "No," I said evenly. "You justified it." "That's not the same thing." My dad stood up. "You're being disrespectful." I nodded once. "And you're being honest." Finally. That night, I packed a bag. I didn't announce it. I didn't threaten. I didn't argue. I just left. They didn't think I would. The messages started the next morning. "Where are you? This is immature. Come home. You're overreacting." I didn't respond. Instead, I did something else. I cut access. Anything that had ever been shared stopped being shared. Anything that relied on me quietly filling the gaps stopped working the way it used to. They noticed fast. My mom called first. Then my dad. Then my sister, over and over again. I answered none of them. A week later, I agreed to meet them. Public place. Neutral ground. They arrived tense. Defensive. My sister looked irritated. My parents looked confused, like they were still trying to figure out when things had slipped out of their hands. "You've made your point," my mom said as soon as we sat down. I tilted my head. "I haven't made it yet." My dad frowned. "You can't just cut us off." "I didn't," I said calmly. I stepped away. My sister laughed bitterly. "From what? You're nothing without us." I looked at her, really looked at her, and understood something clearly for the first time. She had never seen me as a person. Only as a resource. "You changed me while I slept," I said softly. "You told yourselves it was discipline. That it was humbling." I let the words hang in the air. "And now you're surprised I won't let you control anything else." My mom's voice trembled. "We're your family." "No," I said. "You were my environment. I outgrew it." Silence fell over the table. They didn't apologize. They didn't have to. Because in that moment, they understood something they never had before. I didn't need them. I stood up, picked up my bag, and walked away. Behind me, my phone buzzed once. "Please talk to us." I didn't block them. I didn't reply either. Some lessons don't need closure. Some power doesn't need to be proven. And some people only realize too late that the moment they tried to humble you was the moment they lost access to you forever.